Hello y'all, this is Ray. In this video I'll be discussing our activity that we did in class called CA02. That's our class activity 2, where we took a look at the data and identified qualitative versus quantitative, and for each of those we tried to create a table or graph. So here's our data set. And the first question was to identify the qualitative and the quantitative data. So if we were to take a look at this, we can see that we have the name, manufacturer, target, and shelf. They all look like they have names in it. So we know that for the qualitative data, we're looking at names or categories data. Names, categories. This is sometimes also called nominal. It's a nominal level of data, which is describing names. And yeah, so the name, manufacturer, target, and shelf. Now we kind of put a star around the name because the name is are all unique, and they are describing each individual entry in a data set. So we generally look at that as just the header or each individual point in your data set. So I think we are more looking at the manufacturer, the target, and the shelf. So those are the qualitative data. Now the quantitative data would be things that have numbers. So all these other categories have numbers in them. So these are all qualitative or quantitative, sorry. So the quantitative data deals with numbers. All right, so that kind of addresses the first question. The next question is asking us for the qualitative data that we have here, and we've identified 3 of them. Right, we've identified for the qualitative data the manufacturer, the target, and the shelf. So they want us to create a table counting each category within that particular data set, and then make up a bar graph, a pie chart, and then there's a couple of other questions that come up. So let's, I think in class I decided to work on the target first because it was easier to do. So in terms of making a table, we can look at the target here, and we see that there's only 2 choices, either child or adult. So let's look at the target. And then the 2 choices, there's only 2, are child and adult. And for each of these, we can count how many of them there are. So there's child 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there are 8 of them here. And in adults, I can count them, but I know that there's 24 total data sets, or the 24 total entries in our data set. And so I'll just do a subtraction problem, and I think that's going to be 16. Okay. So this is our table. This is called a frequency table, because it counts the frequency of each of these categories. Now from there we can make a bar chart, and our bar chart will be fairly simple. We have the counts here the number of things, items in that particular category, and we simply put the category down here. We got child and adult. So the child is 8, and then the adult is 16, so it looks like it's twice as much. And we can label them. Usually it's good to label 8, 16. You can design these things any way you want. The next is to make a pie chart. So the pie chart, it's kind of difficult to think about counting 8 and 16 within a pie chart. So usually what we want to do, we add on another piece of information. So instead of just looking at the numbers, we take a look at the percentage. So to get the percentage, we take the number and we divide it by the total, which we found to be 24. So this is 16 over 24. And we generally want to look at that as a as a percentage, and so we could take out our calculator and do our 8 divided by 24, and then we got 0.333, so we can write that as 33.3%, and then this is well, we should know what this is, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the nuances when we're dealing with pie charts. So this is 16 divided by 24, and we got 66.67. So the idea is that we want this total to be 100%, and so we can do the subtraction here. Instead of 6, 7, or however many, we probably want to round this up to 7, so that when we add these two things, they add up to 100%. Okay. So now the percentages, you can break this up into the adults and the children, and you can put the actual percentage here, or you can put the names outside and put the percentage inside. So there's a lot of different ways to approach this, but this is a pie chart. So the pie chart generally wants us to look at the percentage portion of things. Okay. So the difference between a bar chart and a pie chart is that a bar chart, you can create it with just the raw numbers, but you can also create it using percentages. Now, a group or a team ended up taking a look at not just a frequency table, but a two-way frequency table. So what are those? A two-way frequency table takes two data sets, two qualitative data sets usually, and then combines it into one table. So we could take a look at, for example, a child and the adult. Like we did over here when we were just looking at the target. But instead of just looking at the numbers here, we can also compare that to like out of the shelf. So the shelf would be the top and middle and bottom. So we can take a look at our target versus the shelf. Okay, and what we do is we do the counts for each one, and so we would cross list the top and the child. So how many cereals are children's cereals that are in the top and I think we found that to be 0. And then we ask how many child cereals are in the middle, and we count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5. This is in the bottom. There's 6, and I think that's it. We got 6 here. Now we can count how many are in the bottom, but we know from this analysis that the total child cereals was 8, so that we can know that if there's 0 on the top and 6 in the middle, there must be 2 in the bottom here. And then we could do the same thing for the adults. How many adult cereals are on top? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 cereals are on top. And how many are in the middle? For adults, 1, 2. There's only 2. And we can go back to that idea that we know that there's 16 total adult cereals, and so there's 10 so far, so there must be 6 in the bottom here. And this also gets us to how many cereals are in the top, middle, and the bottom. So if we just add them all up, we have the totals here as well. So that's 8, and this is 8, and then this is 8. So it looks like the data set that they collected have an equal amount of cereals in the top, middle, and the bottom. Okay, and then whether you add these 2 things up or we add these 3 things up, the total is always going to be 24. That's the total number of cereals altogether. Okay, so that is our cereal count for the qualitative data. Let's take a look at a Google Sheets information with the serial data. So this is the serial data. I put it in Google Sheets and I'll share it with you all. But I want to show you how we will eventually be assessing, collecting, and presenting data. All right, for qualitative data, it's quite easy to come up with a graph. I know I said to make a table first, but if you can make a graph, then you can easily construct your table. So let's pick one of these qualitative data set, and that would be manufacturer, for example. And if you click on the column that has that information and go to Insert and Chart, sometimes it's going to ask you what kind of chart you want, but in this case it's pretty obvious the chart that you want, and the chart that you want would be a count of manufacturers. So you can replace this with frequency or count, and then you can also like if you double click on this, you can like change the colors or change the fill or anything like that, and then there are other ways to customize this. You can also, for example, change the way the horizontal axis looks or the vertical axis. You can see the numbers on the side here, but there's also ways to include the numbers either inside or outside. And so that's how you can construct your bar chart. And from here you can of course make your table for Quakers and all that stuff. Okay, now remember that we did not consider the name as a marker, because if we were to make a table out of this, you can see that our table will just have the names of these things. So apparently there's 2 Quaker oats or something like that, but this is not a very productive or informative piece of information summarizing our data set, so we generally don't want to do something like that. All right, so we'll end it here, and that basically covers the qualitative part. So the quantitative part will be in the next video, and we'll see you in a minute.